Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at V-Rising on the Steam Deck OLED, specifically after the big 1.1 update that brought a bunch of new content, a revamped progression system, and a lot more. In this video, I'll break down the best settings for highest FPS, the best settings for maximum battery life, and what I personally think is the best overall setup for the Steam Deck. Now, whether you're playing on the OLED or LCD, you get all the details you need to tune your experience just right. So let's get started. Now, before we jump into performance, here's a quick recap of what's actually new in this update. There is a new biome called the Oakvale Woodlands. There's a couple of new weapons, claws, twin blades, and throwing daggers. There is a new PvP option like duels and arenas. 7 new spells and overhauled spell categories. There is now some more customization that you can do with your castle. I think you can do stables, new prisoner mechanics, and gear reforging, and a full stat and blood type rework. Now there is a blood type system in the game, and it has gone with a major overhaul. In terms of performance, not much has changed, but let's see how it runs on the Steam Deck. So I've got 3 different scenarios for you and 3 different settings. First off, we're going to start with the highest FPS setup. So if your goal is pure frame rate, here's what works best. Now out of the bat, if you set the settings to low everything, anti-aliasing to TAA, and FSR set to performance, you will get around 65 to 70 FPS in the open world. There may be some short dips in dense combat, but it will not drop below 60. Now you have to set the anti-aliasing to TAA because this is what will actually unlock the FSR option. If you use FXA or SMAA, the FSR will be grayed out, so you have to set it to TAA. Fortunately, this implementation of FSR is actually very old. It's FSR 1.0, and setting it to performance will not yield the greatest visual fidelity, but if you are after the highest FPS, this is what you have to do. Battery life at this level sits at around 2.5 hours on the OLED and roughly 2 hours on the LCD. Now, if you want to stretch playtime as much as possible, here's the setup I recommend. So keep everything on low, anti-aliasing to TAA, upscaling set to either FSR performance or balance, and FPS caps set to 30. You can either limit it from the Steam Deck's limiter or you can limit it in-game. The game actually provides you with a very flexible FPS limiter. You can limit it at any specific number, which is great. And with these settings, battery life on the OLED model jumps to over 5 hours, and the LCD deck can push just over 3 hours. That's a big game if you're playing unplugged for long sessions. The game still looks somewhat decent, and performance is very stable at 30 FPS. And V-Rising isn't a reflex-heavy game. It's actually one of the games that look and feel quite alright at 30 FPS. It doesn't hurt the gameplay too much, especially if you're focused on castle building or solo PvE. So if you find yourself spending more time into castle customization, you can definitely just limit it at that point, and at some point if you're going to go into combat, you can just uncap the FPS or set it to 60. Now, if you want the best balance of visual quality, performance, and battery, this is actually the setup I recommend, and this is the setup I'm going with currently. So I've set all the graphics to high, anti-aliasing still at TAA, I've set FSR to quality, and I've capped the game to 45 FPS. Now, specifically on the OLED, capping it to 45 FPS feels great thanks to its 90Hz display, so this is just half of 90. And with this combo, the game will run pretty much at steady 45 FPS almost everywhere. It will look sharp and vibrant, especially on the OLED screen, and it will give you around 2 hours and 45 minutes of playtime on the OLED. I did notice a few drops to 43 and 44 FPS, but 99% of the time, it will be 45 FPS. The game's stylized visuals really benefit from the high settings. Shadows, lighting, and foliage all look significantly better without tanking performance. And on the LCD model, you can either go medium settings at 60 FPS, or if you want the best visual fidelity on the LCD, you can go to high settings, but you have to lock the game at 30 FPS because this will be more stable. Now, as for controls, there's no problems here on the Steam Deck. V-Rising has full controller support with a dedicated UI that works perfectly on the deck. So what that means is that if you play with mouse and keyboard, the UI will look a certain way, but if you switch to controller, it will be different and it will be designed for a controller. Menus are clean and accessible, combat feels tight, and even complex actions like castle building or spell slot swapping are easy to manage without needing a mouse or trackpad tweaks. There's a lot of times in this game where you have to manage your inventory or you have to move items around, and the controls have been designed to feel very intuitive, and it's actually been a blast to play on the Steam Deck. So, is the Rising worth playing on the Steam Deck in 2025? Definitely, with patch 1.1, the game feels bigger, deeper, and a lot more polished. Performance is strong, controller support is excellent, and the stylized visuals look fantastic on the OLED screen. You've got options to either push performance, stretch battery life, or land somewhere in between, and every one of them runs well enough to enjoy the full game. The game can be enjoyed either offline or multiplayer. There aren't any specific restrictions to multiplayer on the Steam Deck, so that's something to note. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like if this video helped you, and subscribe for more Steam Deck content. Let me know what game you want me to test next, and I'll see you guys in the next video.